Hello, horrorphiles. You're listening to Dissecting Horror.
Examining the anatomy of fear in film, television, and literature.
In this episode, we present Steve and I's first podcast together from May 5th, 2022, before having birthed Dissecting Horror together.
Out of us that day came Triangle, the review that is the 2009 supernatural horror thriller. I forgot that I wrote that. That sounds painful.
I'm writer and performer, Kelsey Zukowski.
I'm filmmaker Stephen Aguilera.
And our society of grotesquerie and loathing, if you will.
I will. And we hope you will subscribe for more, won't you?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Nothing to See or Hear podcast. I'm your co-host, TK. I'm an entertainment lawyer alongside, as always,
filmmaker Stephen Aguilera, plus our special guest for this episode, writer and performer Kelsey Zukowski. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And before we go any further, as our audience probably already knows and is giddy with anticipation, we have a big announcement. We at NTSOH are celebrating our 1 episode anniversary. That's right, friends. On this day, today, we recorded our first podcast, and I just want to say, Stevie Ray, Kelsey, it has been an honor and a privilege to have been down this journey with you two these last several seconds. And here's to one more. And what a one we have for you tonight. I know I say this every episode, but this time I really mean it. Certainly our best ever. On tap tonight, we have got Triangle, released about 13 years ago, so if you want to catch it in theaters, you gotta hurry, but it is streaming now on Amazon Prime. We saw it. We have thoughts. I think it's going to be a great conversation. Plus, we'll play one of our favorite games, TK Hates Horror Movies. But first, this podcast is brought to you by our friends at Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin, who remind you that the all-new F-35C Kato-Bar foldable wingtip joint combat fighter jet is now out. And boy, is it a humdinger. Imagine taking the wheel with a Pratt & Whitney F-135 PW100 afterburning turbofan as you just sit back, drop a tab, and feel those 7.5 Gs of force rock you to sleep. The F-35C Kato-Bar foldable wingtip joint combat fighter jet now available at Naval Air Weapons Station China Lake, the USS Delaware, Osh stores, or wherever combat jets are sold. So with that bit of business out of the way, we've come to our movie review for this episode. It is Triangle, and this movie answers an old question. If you're leading a government that exports $80 billion of iron ore every year, but only has the population of about half of California, what do you do with all that extra money? Answer is, you fund middling psychological thrillers. Financed in large part with a grant from Screen Australia, Triangle stars Melissa George as a young mother who goes on a large sailboat with 5 other folks when they get hit by an electrical storm, capsize, and are rescued by a super creepy ocean liner. It's kind of like a humorless Gilligan's Island if Gilligan was a fully armed murderous psychopath with a nice rack. So I saw this, guys, and I have to say, I sort of wondered who this was for. And I know we're going to pick this up on our second segment, TK Hates Horror Movies, but I personally did not think that this was as scary as it sort of led on to be. Now, of course, I would not have seen it if I had thought that it was scary.
I had to reassure you that it was merely a supernatural thriller, as I recall.
Yeah, but then I asked you if there's going to be any gore.
Yeah, I just told you a few gunshot wounds, that sort of thing. And
right, and then half a keg of red paint and ketchup later. Yeah, there was a lot more stabby shooty stuff than I thought, but still not really like super scary. So I don't know. As someone who like hates being scared, I was glad of it. But as someone who might be thinking on behalf of a person who likes scary stuff, I can't think how they would be super satisfied by it necessarily. So, I mean, I throw it to you guys. Like, what did you all think? I mean, you're the horror buffs. Did this satisfy you as a horror movie?
I would say yes. And as far as the question of scary, I think a lot of horror buffs, I don't know, at least myself, I don't really go into horror movies anymore, really looking to be scared. Like the jump scares and such don't really get me. But in my mind, this is almost a more deeper, personal, human type of horror, because it's really more than anything, it digs into our flaws as humans, and in this case, especially struggles of motherhood and, things they don't really say specifically what's, going on, but, cases like postpartum depression where you see a mother just snap one day, trying to do her best for her child, but we all have those moments where we kind of are just at that tipping point and just lose it, and how you can't really go back from that. So I think a big part of it is almost like hopelessness and being afraid to acknowledge those darker parts of yourself. So I feel like in that way, it's the concept like of what, if you imagine yourself in this position and in this loop, I think is very scary. But it's a different type of scare than like your jump scare, sort of a scary movie.
Yeah, I thought it was more like a Twilight Zone episode. It had a mixture of feelings for me. The Shining came up a lot. There was even a little homage. Did you guys catch it to The Shining?
Never saw it.
Was it in the ship, like the hallways?
No, well,
because some, especially with the act and all that, kind of had some.
It had that vibe, especially because it was more old timey in a lot of ways. But there was a cabin, I guess they call it, on a ship as opposed to a hotel room, but it was room 237.
Oh, yeah.
And they showed that a couple times. And I thought, well, that might be a little bit too, I don't want to say on the nose, but just too much of an homage. Did you just nod when I said that? Did you know what I was talking about?
No, I nodded because when you mentioned 237, that meant nothing to me. But just the idea that it like hooked into that film made me think, okay, was there something about The Shining that was about, being so upset with oneself that one tries to correct the past through reliving it? Was there anything like that in The Shining?
No, not at all. That was completely wrong. It was actually more about...
Good try.
I think it's more about isolation and your mind kind of degrading over time, and it's probably some old mysterious curse. It's not really explained that deeply, and I think did you read the book, Kelsey?
I did, yes.
Okay, I don't really read much, but anyway, I think it departs quite a bit from...
Yeah.
So anyway...
I guess it kind of has the similar aspect of like a destructive parent, sort of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good draw there. Now, the other thing that I thought was a connection to other films was I felt a little Memento in there, or there's some, at least I'm sure, one episode of Star Trek somewhere that does that sort of Mobius loop kind of thing where you have to relive events and somehow learn from each and grow somehow. And then what was the other movie? There's
Groundhog Day?
Well, yeah, that's actually one, but I almost didn't say that just because it was too obvious. Oh, Lost. Lost is something. Did you guys watch Lost?
I did, yeah.
I actually did not know.
I only saw it for the first time vaguely recently, but it had a similar feel of things never really being explained, but it's enough to keep the characters along a certain journey and keep things interesting, and it's mysterious. And there really isn't a whole lot explained about this, but the fact that it's set in the Bermuda Triangle gives them license, I think, to just make it weird, and you can get away with it because it's the Bermuda Triangle. Yeah, it was more like a Twilight Zone episode. I didn't really feel scared. It wasn't that sort of movie. There was, I got a few chills here and there. I suppose we can get into a few specific scenes as we go along, but mostly it was just intriguing and clever to me, and I just wanted to see what was going to happen, and I wasn't feeling like I was watching some generic premise that was just taking advantage of tropes that could be exploited for horror films, but I felt like some thought went into this, and there wasn't really too much wasted about it. It was just everything pretty much had a reason. Not all of it was perfectly clear to me, but generally speaking, I was impressed because my expectations were probably pretty low.
I think, to your point, Kelsey, the crux of the conceit here is really towards the end, where you see finally the main character just blow up at her kid in a really disturbing way, and how that is sort of the impetus for everything else, because it's that destructive behavior that that you mentioned that sort of forces her to accept the ride on the yacht, which in turn results in a catastrophe that lands them on this ocean liner, which in turn, results in all this havoc, where she's basically carving up and shooting up the whole fucking ship, and and doing it again. And that part is interesting. And I also will give credit to Melissa George. She was like amazing. I thought she was the best part of the movie.
She played, was it Jess?
Yeah, the mom.
She looked a lot like Angelina Jolie in a few shots when she got more demented. I don't know if you noticed that. But I should mention that we are going to be getting into spoilers. So if you don't like spoilers, then you've been warned.
If you've got like a 15-year like cap on movies that you refuse to get spoilers on, you might want to watch out, because this is only 13 years old.
So just check out the movie. Wait, pause this, check out the movie, and come back, and then you can. I'm sure you'll want to be like, wait, what did I just watch? Okay, then we can go right into it.
Or stick your fingers in your ears and say la 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 for the next maybe 7 minutes or so.
Well, that's a weird point in itself. You, Kelsey, mentioned that you did not hear of this movie.
Yeah, like I recognized like the movie poster. Once I was like, okay, Triangle, let me go look. I was like, okay, yeah, I've seen that. Also, it was on Shudder, which is an amazing platform for horror movies. So I think it's one that I had kind of just scanned past, but never really quite watched. So it was definitely well worth the watch.
Well, I noticed that it's not technically on Amazon Prime. It's on IMDb TV, which I'd never heard of. And it plays with ads, which were very jarringly placed. Like you don't expect some coming-of-age rom-com woman or women to just pop in the screen in the middle of some...
Yeah, it was a little disjointing. I actually watched about the first half hour on Amazon with the IMDb TV, and then I was like, this feels like the type of movie that would be on Shudder, and I looked it up, and it was on Shudder without ads, so I watched the rest that way.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get Shudder, but I don't think they really show you what films they have on there at the moment. Maybe that's too much to update on the website, but it's only, $50 or something like that. But what struck me as odd is that Amazon, they own IMDb, so why is there a separate IMDb.TV streaming service when it's all Amazon anyway? And I've never heard of it. So it just seems like an odd choice, but also a failed one, since I had no idea it existed. And it looks like it's been around for a while, and they keep promoting during these ad breaks different shows that exist. But
well, you'll be pleased to know then that, in fact, they are shutting it down, or not shutting it down, but they're rebranding. So it's not going to be IMDb.TV any longer. It's going to be Amazon Freevee.
You are joking.
I'm not joking. This podcast is not a joke. Yeah, no, it's rebranded. Yeah, I mean it will be soon, from a lame title to an even lamer one.
All right.
Well, originally I heard about this film only about a week ago. There's a channel on YouTube that I follow, Lady McCreepsta, who posted something on her Instagram about this movie she saw, and she prided herself about seeing all these horror films and being an aficionado about it and so forth. And she'd never heard of this. And she was, she rarely posts anything on Instagram at all. So the fact that she would post this movie as something worth watching was intriguing. So I watched it that night, and I thought, wow, that's the same thing. Where did this come from? I've never heard of it. And here we are talking about it on our own podcast a week later with 2 other people who have never heard of it. So there's something of a mystery about that to me. Like, how did it slip under everyone's radar to the degree that it had?
I mean, initial distribution must have been pretty poor. I didn't check out who distributed it in the U.S. But I mean, it was an indie low-budget film. So it might not have gotten wide distribution in the U.S. at the time. I mean, I certainly don't remember it.
Yeah. Well, it has Liam Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Yeah, Don't Call Me Luke or Chris Hemsworth, yes.
Well, he did what? What was that movie? You would know.
Oh,
Wait, we have
Hunger
to take...
Games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, we have to take that again, because you said Liam. In fact, I think it's Luke Hemsworth in this one, isn't it?
I think, hold on,
Is it Liam?
I believe.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, you're right. It probably is Liam.
I think it is Liam.
And I insist you not cut out anything. Sorry, guys, go ahead.
So I think,
Confirmed Liam Hemsworth.
there you go.
Boom.
As a side note, I found it interesting how the other characters would keep referring to him as the boy or the kid, and then this 6'12" brawny guy would step out and obviously looked like 28 or something like that. So I think maybe there was an original point in the script that it would be more of a teenage kid or something, and he probably was 18. He's just that manly. But the fact is, they probably should have went back and just changed it to 24 or something. Was he supposed to be the brother?
Not the brother. I think he was supposed to be 18 though, and they said like, I forget the guy with the boat was kind of saw him, didn't have a home, like he was homeless, and then he kind of just like picked him up and was like, "Oh, here's a job."
But he knew how to use the ropes and rig the yacht and all that stuff. Like, I thought they grew up together. I thought they were brothers, but then they don't look anything like it. The other guy, I thought he kept reminding me of like the main yachtsman reminded me of Dave Foley.
I can see that a little bit, yeah.
I think the main line that Liam had throughout the film was "hello," just shouting that over and over and over throughout the hallways.
That's hilarious. I would have loved to see the script, like 5 pages of hello.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think the yachtsman, I'm really bad with names, but the guy that I thought was going to be the main protagonist, but then dies off relatively early in his, he had his place, but I think his main line was, "Are you all right?
Yeah.
Are you all right?" He kept asking that. A woman is horribly killed and drowned. There's a white squall. The boat is overturned. They're all sitting there waiting to die slowly and horribly. And he steps up, "Are you all right?" And they say yes. Like, yeah. Like, what the fuck? And that line itself, "Are you okay?" has always been something of a, I don't know, just a personal bug when people would ask me that, "You all right?" "Yes, I'm fine." And then just keep asking that over and over. It's like when you sneeze and say, "Bless you, bless you." Okay, you don't have to keep saying that over and over. I get it.
That's why I only do one bless you. You get one, and then whatever happens to you after that, you're on your own.
But anyway, I think that's the end of that ramble on that. I think the only other line that keeps getting repeated was, "Heather,
Yeah.
Heather," the woman that drowned.
Wasn't that like kind of disappointing?
She's
Like
not around.
nothing happened with that?
Yeah, that's true. Didn't really get addressed.
I don't think she needed to be in the film at all. I mean, she was there to, I suppose, make other characters look less cunty because she was a bit.
Well, no, the redhead was like the biggest
Yeah.
B word.
Well, she got on my nerves just for being that woman that screams hysterically and is in constant state of panic, which makes me not want to like horror films, but we can probably get into that a bit later. But yeah, those are like the only nitpicks as far as dialogue. It's just some of the repetitive points that could have been more creatively expressed in terms of trying to find other people. And I think there's something of a plot hole in trying to justify why a woman would be screaming for her friend on a ghost ship and why she would even be there even though they watched her drown. Never mind why did she drown, she had a life vest. So why was she the one that drowned? And the two people up there trying to fight the storm were not wearing, somehow they didn't think to put on life vests and they were thrown overboard too. But little things like that can really ruin a film for me.
Yeah, like in a lot of ways, I think it was very unique premise. I mean, granted, there's been other similar time loop sort of things, but in a lot of ways, it had very good intentions. And I think the core of it was pretty intelligent, but there were for sure things that were kind of erratic, messy, inconsistent. I think this is definitely spoiler territory, but especially if we're to believe like these different versions of Jess or different time loops, especially with the lockets. You see like, I don't know, 30, 50 lockets. Obviously, she's done this again and again and again, trying to get it right. Which that is one of those kind of interesting things going back, knowing the ending, that you kind of look at everything earlier differently. So at the end, she's going on this boat and how it's perceived when we're first watching it is that she doesn't know what's happening when all this is first going on. She's just trying to figure it out. And it seems genuine, not just her acting to kind of fool other people, even with her comments of like, I feel like I've been here before. This feels like deja vu. So it kind of is like weird. Like at times she's supposed to know what's going on and at times she doesn't. So if this is like, are they different versions of herself? That seems a little messy. Either she should be in the know or not. I think one of the most interesting aspects is that these aren't different versions of herself, that it's all the same person. Like even when she's telling her kid, oh, that was the bad mom, that's not who I really am. But I think a little part of it, I kind of missed at an opportunity to kind of go full circle and fully admit those kind of flaws or bad parts of herself, or those instances of losing her temper, because it seems like what she's in this time loop is she's not beating it because she's not fully admitting those things. Like, oh, I can beat this. But just the way that like her not fully accepting these other parts of herself, it seems like is what's keeping her there, which is an interesting forewarning. But I think the film could have gone a little further to really explore and dive into that a little more.
I agree. I mean, they did kind of, I thought maybe explained a little too much too early when they had that clunky exposition looking at the sign on this creepy ocean liner when they're first quote unquote rescued, saying that the name of the boat is an homage to the parent of Sisyphus, who has to push up a boulder to the top of the mountain only to have it fall down to the bottom and push it up again the next day as sort of a punishment for cheating death. And that sort of tipped me off right away where we were going with this. And indeed, that does sort of help explain like why she didn't die in the car wreck at the end, why she felt compelled to go back and do it again. I'm thinking maybe the electrical storm is what reset her memory so that she doesn't remember. She knew what was going on throughout the first part of the yachting, sailing expedition. But once the electrical storm hit, that wiped her memory, maybe in concert with her almost drowning or whatever. And so when they're rescued, the only thing that she has remaining in her memory is sort of vague deja vu, but not a real recollection of what was going on. But I think if you're seeing 70 lockets and 150 dead pigeons and 52 dead redheads, you're...
that was great imagery in that scene.
That was my favorite shot in the film. That was really well done.
All I could think of was the costume designer going like, we're going to need 52 white blouses.
Art department, make sure they all have bloody gouges in the right place.
Well, I think for me, it was a sensation for her, not unlike waking up and just having that dream you just had, and it's sort of slipping away. You can't quite piece it together, think about it. There was that one scene where she actually does fall asleep and she wakes up on the yacht and she says she doesn't remember what it was, that she was just dreaming. And I just took it to be like that. And I don't know the mechanics behind it, but there was a recurring theme of this seagull from the very beginning. And I don't know what that symbolized. Does anybody have any theories? Because it would show up and it'd almost be like the feather on Forrest Gump and just kind of floating around. Like, okay, is this supposed to be like some sort of foreshadowing of something? But it was always there, and there were plenty of other seagulls munching on dead carcasses and so forth. It was somehow distinguished. Did anyone even notice that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a motif for sure. And I mean, it could represent, the need to fly away from the situation. Also, they're scavengers, and just the fact that they recur, sort of invokes again that idea of the repetition of it.
Yeah,
I just made that up now.
I was going to ask you.
The fly away, I think I could be convinced for, because it seems like a lot of it, it's her, again, like her flaws are very human, understandable. They make her sympathetic, but also it seems like she's flying away, so to speak, from her past what she's done, the effects of it, and not fully addressing it. And so then I guess one interesting thing about the film is kind of at the end, it's pretty clear, but you could still kind of take it in a few ways. Like, is this a game that she can beat and defeat, or is this just her personal hell? Like, she's in hell, and this is just that little bit of hope what keeps her going. But it's in the end just sort of a miserable kind of joke.
Well, is there any reason why she couldn't have just, instead of running away whenever she saw herself or the others, couldn't she just explain to them, like, whoa, I know this is weird, but you can't say I'm crazy because there's two of us right here. Let me just tell you what's up, instead of just outright murdering each one to reset things somehow?
Yeah, explanations like that are movie killers. You can't...
Yeah, that's true.
You can't do the, like, reasonable thing, or else you'd ruin everybody's good time.
But couldn't they find a justification, like figure out some reason why she had to, like maybe if they would cancel each other out and explode the universe if they got too close? I mean, it'd be hard to explain that.
I mean, it would definitely subvert expectations. I would be more interested in something where it went completely off the rails halfway, where they're like, okay, wait a minute. Let's like sit down and just reasonably think about, put down the gun and the machete, and let's talk reasonably about what's going on here. At least
on one of the loops. I mean, there's so many different iterations. Just one of the options could have been to do that.
It could have been kind of interesting if they didn't see two people, if they were together and they only saw one person, because they are the same person. They're just different sides of the same person. That could have been interesting, but, we didn't make this film.
Well, there's a good point about films like this in that they give us a rewatchability factor. I went back and watched it a second time, and you can see, oh, okay, that's why she did that, because it led to her yada yada yada. I watched it a third time, and I thought, oh, okay, I'm understanding it more with each passing, and things tend to make sense a bit more. But I even considered buying it on Blu-ray just so I would have it. But just one of those where I think I looked it up, and it was hard to get. It's $68, and it's in a region that doesn't work in North America or something like that. Anyway, would you guys watch it again?
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely I agree. It's one that, like, once you know that ending and even as the credits roll, you're still kind of like thinking about, like, okay, well, so if we're to believe this is what it was and that affected, these things in this way, everything earlier on reads differently. So I think that's something the film does really well. I think it is one that kind of compels you to think about it and, okay, this works because this is how this connects to this and all that. So yeah, it definitely seems like it would be valuable on repeat viewings.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I am appreciating the movie more now, sitting here talking it over with you guys, because until then I've been sort of like hating on it, because it was all right. There's a lot of unexplained things, stuff that, they don't get into. They sort of leave it to you to think about. And then throughout, the movie to me, it was a lot of like sort of interesting central conceit, but also a lot of repetitive, stabby shooty stuff that I was just like, meh, okay. But talking it over and focusing in on what's going on internally, which was your first point, I think, makes me give it, a little bit more of a second thought. But it's not my genre, so I would probably give it a pass. I mean, on a repeat viewing. Although I would be interested in a sequel, maybe Quadrilateral or Pentagon or something. But it could go into more of like the, who else this has affected and the rest of her story. I mean, we really are rooting for her to like break the chain, especially at the end. And she does not, which is kind of curious, frustrating for me at first. But again, talking it over with you guys, I think, more understandable and more intriguing that way. But still, there's still a rooting interest here. I think there's grounds for a sequel. And I say this not as a huge fan of the film, but I think there's more to be told. But I would probably do like my 15th viewing of Back to the Future before my second viewing of Triangle.
Well, there's a particular character is a taxi driver that comes in towards the end. He walks up after the car accident and says, "Hey, no one's going to save that kid." And then, "Hey, do you want to ride?" It was just this sort of an odd thing.
Yeah, that was really weird.
I thought he was somehow the mastermind behind all this and was going to provide some clues or do something. But he just happened to be a guy that pulled over and just offered.
Well, or is it like if there was a sequel? I think you're quite right. I think that would focus on that guy, and Jeff Probert, I believe, is his name.
Wow.
You might remember. No, he. I think you're right. I think it would focus on that guy because there is a real break with reality when she gets into the car accident at the end, but she survives without a scratch on her. She's lit differently. So I'm thinking she's dead or in some kind of middle ground, whatever that's called.
Yeah, it seems like it's either a purgatory or like personal hell, like it's just tormenting her, and she still is holding on to that hope, but she's still not admitting the past and these other parts of herself, which is keeping her from this. So it could be like, maybe he's, I don't know, some key player in the afterlife who's like pushing her on this cycle out almost as a torment sort of thing.
Yeah, I think there was something definitely creepy about the guy to begin with. But
I do agree, though, that he could have had maybe one more significant line that kind of clicked things into place to seem a little less random.
And also at the very end of his scene, he says, "I'm going to let the meter keep running," or whatever the term is, "and you're going to come back." And she goes, "I promise." So I don't know if that was a nod to, okay, we're going to play this loop a few more times, and she kind of knows that on some level. Mm-hmm. But I assume that the reason he would say that logically in the real world is because she didn't have any money on her and she was going to go grab some money and come back, or she was just going to take another trip. I don't know. I was a little bit confused by that.
Yeah, and a lot like in a realistic everyday scenario, if she's going on a boat trip, like how long is he planning on keeping that meter running?
Yeah. He's dropping her off at the yacht club. It doesn't, I don't know. There was a number of little plot holes like that, which I have a couple of convenient notes on. Mm-hmm. The first, which there's a point where someone else, Liam, I believe, locates her keys. "These are my keys." She's like trying to convince them. Wouldn't she still have her keys? Because it's the later version of her that drops the keys. So she could just pull out of her pocket the keys that she should still have and show, "See, these are my keys." Mm-hmm. But that wasn't a thing for some reason. So that confused me slightly. What else? There was a guy obviously dressed to be her with the hood on for a couple of shots. You can see this conspicuously hairy hand and wrist when he's in the foreground, just right there. And they show the same shot twice. Mm-hmm. Why couldn't they just put a woman under all of that to play herself? But that was, it couldn't literally been a hairier hand of
my
a
God.
dude.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't a good choice. Just use her double.
Yeah, they always had one.
For reals. But I noticed that too. I didn't notice the hair as much, but it was definitely man hands holding that shotgun that was supposed to be hers. So
maybe it was supposed to look more manly, so it would throw the audience off that it wasn't her or something. I don't know.
Probably, but as I can really appreciate a good twist, but that's the one thing I hate with twists, when they're like, it was really this way all along, but then things that they showed were not this way. Like, you have to have some element of reality. Like, if it's just this one character who's losing their mind, it's okay to an extent if it's her perception of things. But when it's everyone else seeing this too, there has to be some consistency.
Right. When the movie itself is telling you, like, no, we decided it's different now. Like, no. Yeah, I get off the bandwagon at that point as well.
I'm assuming that there were no sequels. I mean, there could have been, because we never heard of the first one. Maybe we never heard of the sequels either. But I did look up the guy, Christopher Smith. Mm-hmm. There was one movie that he did that I've heard of, Black Death, with Sean Bean. Okay. I remember it was on my queue on Netflix for a long time, and to this day I've never watched it. Has anybody ever seen any of his other stuff?
I have seen Severance, which was really good. I actually liked it a lot. It's more of a horror comedy, but it's kind of like a workplace trip and sort of slasher, very bloody. You probably wouldn't like it. But it was kind of like a fun, smart, kind of critique on, kind of greed and trying to get ahead and lack of empathy and stuff. So I think he does try to make like smart horror, kind of reflecting on maybe flaws in, humanity and society and such, which I appreciate a lot in my horror. I love horror with depth.
Was there a double meaning for the title Severance? Was it something to do with being fired
Severance
from the job?
pay? Yeah, I believe so. I saw it a long time ago. It was at the Cleveland Film Festival, like before it was even released. I think it was like 2007 or something.
Wow.
But yeah, I did enjoy that one.
I'll have to look that up. I think he did some TV or some streaming series of something. I don't know, but he's still working, and I'm definitely into what he writes and directs. So I'd like to see more myself.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like a talent. I actually looked up Severance as well, and I got kind of jealous because some of the quotes from people who've seen it are just like, oh, in fact, I have a couple. I went on my Netflix DVD website. I have that service. I'm not ashamed to admit it. It still exists, and I get DVDs and I enjoy them, and I'm not being defensive about it at all. But it was helpful because I looked up Severance, and we had the people who've seen it, give their reviews. Here was one. It says, "What can I say? This is a great little horror, dramedy with a fair amount of action and a little something to say. There is a cheeky wit in this movie that you don't see every day in horror." Going to your point about, it being sort of like it's bloody, but it's funny, and I would have appreciated a little bit of humor. I noticed that the main character, as brilliantly as she is played by the actress, spends 0.03 seconds of the entire film with a smile, like a genuine smile. She is miserable the whole time, and there's not a single funny line that I can recall. Can you guys recall anything light?
Well, the guy, he has a funny name, Downey, I think his name. He was my favorite character. He was funny. Maybe that's why comic relief is so important. You should have somebody there doing something, because it just gets kind of tedious or just too much tension. You need some sort of release. But
yeah, she was definitely a lot of despair she carried with her. Even I think maybe if she didn't fully remember at that time, it's understandable if this really is just this eternal hell that she's living in and trying to break out of, and maybe some of the guilt is seeping in that she doesn't want to admit, and knowing what she's, potentially done to her kid. I get wanting a little bit of fun in your horror. I'm okay with both, though. I'm okay with horror that's fun, and I get some things are just bleak and brutal, and she was definitely very much haunted by her own ghosts and whatever this bigger thing that was happening. So like it worked for me, but yeah, she's not having a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
Was there a particular character that you could relate to more than any other?
I guess not so much. I guess one thing that was interesting was with Jess, even when she's having these brutal kill scenes, she was still kind of sympathetic, because you kind of get an idea that she's gone through this whole ordeal and she's trying to save them. She does place her, getting back to her child above others' lives, which is, definitely interesting too. But it wasn't like your normal watching a killer kill sort of a thing, because we're supposed to believe this isn't permanent. They're all going to come back and everything maybe is going to be okay. But also, I think you saw how much she went through and her determination and resilience and trying to beat these odds. And she was still felt a lot while she was doing all this, and, seemed to, feel sorry, but like, oh, to me, this is the only way out. So I guess I probably felt the most for her, at least.
Was she your favorite character, regardless of how empathetic she might have been to you?
I would say probably only, I didn't like the other characters. They were interesting enough and they worked for their roles, but it wasn't like, oh, I really love this character. I guess they didn't connect to me. Like they weren't necessarily one note, but it wasn't enough that I was, that really made me connect to them.
I like the driver because I also drive, so I felt like a real kinship with him based on that.
Did you guys want to come up with ratings? I noticed.
Oh yeah, we didn't decide how we wanted to. I sort of assumed that we would all just have our own, like 3 out of 5 pancakes or whatever. Like, I mean, for me, I probably just wouldn't recommend it. If you're, I would. I still am slightly on the side of not recommending it.
Well, I noticed IMDb has a 6.9. And I thought that was low. I thought it should be higher than that. But I personally think, okay, if we were to do a rating system, it would be probably in line with that to where we can compare it to IMDb's or somebody else's. But I would give it, the production value wasn't epically great, but it was adequate, visual effects wise and otherwise. They tried, and it worked pretty well. It worked well enough for me.
For a low budget 2009 pick, I would say it's pretty good.
Yeah, especially with water as your visual effect. That's tricky to do. So I would, just based mostly on story and the cleverness of it all, I'd give it more like an 8.7 on my scale.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
8.7? Where would you put fucking The Godfather or whatever?
Never saw
it. Podcast over. All right. Well, maybe when you see some of those, it'll refresh. I'll press refresh on your rating.
All right.
8.7. Is that on an 8.6 to 10 scale, or what
that
is
really
that?
upset him, didn't it?
Yeah, he's like, how dare you?
No,
you guys had me on this movie until then.
No. You definitely, and I don't say it for purposes of the podcast, you for sure, even if we were just like chilling, hanging out, whatever, I feel a lot better about the movie talking to you about it. I feel your guys' appreciation makes my appreciation go up. So I'm definitely more down with the film, because literally before I was just like, meh, whatevs. But I can see how now that there's more to it, and the fact that you guys who are like horror aficionados are not disappointed by this as a horror movie makes me sort of, look at it different, because my point of view was I don't like horror and it wasn't particularly scary. So I figure if I was a horror buff, I would hate this movie. But your appreciation for it has increased mine. So I'm definitely more like leaning towards like almost recommending it. But 8.7 or whatever you're saying this out of 10, right?
Yes.
Not out of 100? I mean, okay, well, cool. Good for you. So Kelsey...
Well, I do really appreciate that comment, because that, a big proponent of horror, and that it's not always the typical of what people view as horror. So it does make me happy to kind of talk about it and be like, oh yeah, there are these other layers or these other aspects, and so much in horror is metaphorical. Whereas if you're watching it strictly, this is really exactly what happened, nothing more. I can see how it'd be like, okay, that was all right. And again, I think it's an imperfect film. It has its flaws. But that's cool that this conversation was like, okay, I can see how it has this other worth that I didn't see at first.
Yeah, for sure. But I need to hear, I need the number now.
All right, so little in between. I want to say about a 7.
Okay.
For me, 7.5, I'm somewhere in there. To me, like there are points that are a little messy, some things that kind of don't make sense, and I think it had really good potential, a lot of really good insight. It was very intriguing throughout. I loved the kind of, even just like the ghost ship, creepy atmosphere, but I also like that type of stuff. But yeah, there was a lot of things that were really interesting. I love psychologicals, so that aspect was interesting. If anything, I wanted him to go a little further. But overall, like, I think very solid, and I'll give him extra points for, being unique and trying to do something powerful and relatable through horror.
And to that point, I have to say that I really do love it when a movie is able to show how someone could become completely irrational and yet in their own mind be rational. Mm-hmm. that is a real trick to do for a movie to do with an audience, because we see, unfortunately, headlines in the real world about people doing crazy things and very violent things, destructive things that we just have no idea how it could get in their head. Mm-hmm. So when a movie is able to show someone getting into that headspace and you can see how they could get there, I really do appreciate that. I don't think it 100% worked in this one. I could see them working. Mm-hmm. I could see the writer-director really, pushing it and trying to get us there. I don't think it was 100% successful. Speaking of Lost, which you mentioned earlier, I think it was in season 3, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I've seen it. And it's been infinity since you've seen it. You should check it out. It's also not super successful. It takes a long time, and it does get worse season by season. But sometime in season 3, it really showed us how the Hugo character, the big guy, how he could become mad, crazy, mm-hmm. and do some destructive things. When a movie or TV show really does that's really great. It's a great trick. I wish I had more examples off the top of my head, but I like the fact that this movie tried, mm-hmm. and I think I got part of the way there. So yeah, if I had to give it a number, 4.99.
Wow, that's weird, because I was tempted to write down what my prediction for your...
You should have done that. Well, next time. From now on, we'll do predictions.
I was going to say 4.5. No, 4.7. But I think if you averaged out all of ours, it would be 6.9.
So, okay, I guess that makes sense.
So, yeah, I think IMDb's rating system tends to be harsher than most others. Anyway, do you have a closing statement for this segment?
This segment is over. All right, guys, it's time to play our favorite game, TK Hates Horror Movies. And I wanted to start off this segment with a trip down memory lane. I think it was like 2003 or 4, 2002, 2003, when The Ring came out. American version. A friend of mine at work, friend of mine at the time, she took me...
No longer friends, because it was so traumatic.
Yeah, a little bit of foreshadowing here. She is, in fact, no longer my friend, but she did take me, along with a bunch of other friends, to see The Ring. And in fact, there was enough of us that we were on 2 rows, and she was in the row in front of me. And I had not wanted to go, in keeping with my long-standing policy not to watch horror movies. But it was rated PG-13, and I thought, what the hell? So get there within about, I guess, 5 to 7 minutes of the movie. You guys remember it?
Oh, yeah.
You got the Blu-ray?
I do.
Okay. So within about 5 to 7 minutes, there's a scene with a couple of parents or whatever, and they're talking about maybe their kids or something, and then there's a smash cut to interior closet, this girl, super fucked up. I don't know, something, she got like hit by lightning or whatever, or hit by the witch or the ring or whatever it is. She was like charred and blackened or whatever the fuck, super fucked up, and her head falls off. And then smash cut back to the parents. And it was at that moment that I was like, and I'm out. And I just ducked my head down. I did what I used to do when I was a little kid. I ducked my head down, and I kept it down for the remaining running time of the film.
Wow.
Oh.
And the next day, my friend was talking to me at work, was like, remember the scene at the end where it seemed like everything's cool, but then like this girl whatever did whatever? And I was like, I don't remember that, no. She said, we just went last night. And I'm like, we did go last night. That's the part where you're right. However, I did not see the film as I was just looking down 95% of the movie. So the reason why I bring it up is because I want to start off this segment by asking you What the fuck? Like, why does the MPA, don't call us MPAA, give out these PG-13s like they're fucking candy to like pretty scary movies? Like, let me ask you this. Did that moment, with the first time you saw it, freak you out?
I think I was around 13, just the age I was getting super into horror right when that came out. So I think that was still the point where I could be like kind of spooked or affected, but I still loved it.
Well, it definitely was very jarring. It was one of those where it hits you and you feel this rush afterwards that's stimulating. But I think it was more the stinger of the music, just like this piercing whining sound that they give whenever something like that happened. The score was done by Hans Zimmer, which has some very beautiful melodic piano in it. But I don't know if I've heard anything else he's done that was horror, but it was definitely very haunting and effective. Mm-hmm. And whenever something like that happened, it might not even be the score so much as sound design, as they call it, or just more closer to a sound effect than score. But it's the jarringness of that, which I think, unfortunately, is leaned on a bit too heavily by horror films as a substitute for story when they can just build up tension with sounds and music. But it definitely freaked me out, but in a way that was oddly pleasant at the same time.
Right. So is there some type of, is it true people get endorphin rush like when they see like these super scary moments that are jumpy?
Not anymore. I think I'm too like, I guess not just maybe desensitized, but like I don't know. I know I'm watching a movie, so I don't know. Maybe it's just like knowing it's not real. Like if I go through a haunted house, for example, I'm just smiling most of the time. But occasionally, if you're not expecting it, you'll kind of jump a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. It's like kind of like a safe space to explore fears in a way. So I view it more as from a storytelling perspective and kind of just deeper things about the human experience and, metaphors. I guess I do have very high standards for my horror. I want it to do a lot. And there are the horror films that are just cheesy, bloody fun, and those can be great too. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really go into them looking to be scared anymore. If anything, it's more disturbing or it's more like imagining yourself in that situation would be horrifying and how effective they tell that story.
It's interesting you mentioned haunted houses. I'm actually okay with haunted houses. I have no problems because I know as a legal matter, they can't touch me. It's when they make you sign waivers.
Oh, yeah. I've been to some of those where you're basically signing your death away. You're like, all right, let's go have some fun.
I mean, even just the action of signing a waiver and having it put in front of you, meaning like, you
could die.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
You have no recourse.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, you've been to those kind of haunted houses.
I have, so I believe I think it's called, the 17th Door. That's the most extreme I've been to, and that is the most extreme I will go to. There are some that are straight up legal torture, and those I don't even find appealing. I mean, you can make a whole movie about that. That would be very interesting about the mindset of, I think, both the people. I mean, no shame to anyone if that's your thing, but I think just the mindset of wanting and signing up for that, and the actors who want to do that to other people. But that's a whole other conversation. But
that's at least 18 doors.
Yeah, 17th Door. What a lot of it was just like an immersive play almost that you were a part of. The acting was really great. The story was really great. And my favorite thing about that one is that it was really meant to be like a positive, uplifting experience, believe it or not. Because it was all about trying to get you to like face your fears. It was a lot of stuff that was like common fears like claustrophobia, I don't know, bugs, different things like that. And each room is a very short amount of time, like a minute. So I think it's like giving you a taste of those fears and the actors throughout, they're kind of encouraging you. You're like, yeah, you're a badass. You got this. We can break out. Like the year that I went, it was set up as like this kind of like experimental, fucked up prison asylum sort of a deal, you know, where all these like very horrible things are happening behind the scenes and very entrapping. And it was you and this main girl who you're seeing brutalized. You're all like in it together and breaking out. So in a lot of ways, I feel like it was meant to be like a positive experience about facing your fears. Mm-hmm. The one thing is I did get electroshocked, and that was not okay. Wow. I literally had welts on me, and
that was not planned,
right? So yeah, like they did. So I've been to some where it's like you get like a slight little shock. It's not a big deal. Kind of hurts for a second. You move on. Their voltage was too high, and the one I was sitting for that room, it was sort of like a jigsaw sort of a thing where everyone's hooked up to chairs, and there's these lights that go off, and you're each supposed to choose a light, and we don't really know. Basically, they told us, oh, if you see a light go off, hit it. So I'm thinking you're just like choosing, and there was, I guess, other people in the group was like, you know, almost like memory, make sure you hit every single one. And the people that hit as many of those buttons as possible did not get shocked. At first, I wasn't shocked, and I hear the people across from me just screaming bloody murder. And I'm like, what's going on there? And then I felt it. It was very bad. It hurt quite a lot. I was like shaking at that point, and I was on room like 10, 13, somewhere in there out of 17. And I'm like, damn, I hope it doesn't get more intense than this. But I kind of just kept on going. And that was for sure the worst of it. That was the only one for me that was like too much. And there were rooms that were like fun where like the room is spinning. And it was more about the acting and immersion and everything. But yeah, that's definitely as far as I would go. I don't need to like pay to induce a kidnapping torture scenario. I'm not like I like my horror fictional overall.
Right. And that's another good point is like it's more fun when you know it's fictional. If you're watching like whatever Faces of Death or like when we were in high school, Steve, like what was like the big thing where they had like actual death stuff?
Yeah.
Was it like Faces of Death?
Faces of Death? I think
Yes.
so.
Yeah. And that was like nobody had a good time with that.
Right, unless you were depraved and got off on that sort of thing.
Right, yeah, but I've been over that phase for weeks now. No, but like, you know, as long as, because that sort of ties in with how come I'm okay with most haunted houses is because I know that it's fine.
It's an actor, and they're going to jump out, and the worst that they're going to do is kind of get in your face for a moment and then back away and then keep doing their job.
Right, yeah. So I think it's probably like maybe more fun to see it when you know that it's just a movie. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, what horror movie would each of you think is like the most effective horror movie that you've ever seen?
I mean, I'm just going to go with my favorite. I'm not claiming it's the best. I mean, it's hard to say what is the best horror movie ever, you know, because there's so many different layers, and you could say, oh, cinematically or story-wise or, you know, whatever. My personal favorite is Nightmare on Elm Street.
No, okay, classic.
Ooh, so I don't want to make it more complicated than it needs to be, but there was...
Do it on a 3-tiered basis and divide it up by production value.
I have this whole category of like when I was a kid, and when you're a kid, things are more effective on you. And I can think of some haunted house films, which, like The Legend of Hell House, which is my favorite haunted house film, where it was just so terrifying to see the characters walking through a mansion with just a flashlight, and it's just black. And there's nothing happening, but the flashlight might shine onto some old statues or some paintings or whatever. And it was just like, I just wanted to contract my body into a little ball and bring my feet up from under the couch or whatever so nothing could possibly touch me, because I felt like anything could be in that darkness and my imagination would go crazy. Right. But now, watching it, I would think, oh, yeah, it's kind of an inexpensive way to shoot something spooky is just turn off all the lights and just have a flashlight. I might think of it in other terms, but it really freaked me out. And if I were to try to show this film, the same scene to somebody now as an adult, they would just, okay, I'm waiting for what's supposed to jump out, or did I miss it? So the mindset of a child is much different, and it's hard to recapture that level of apprehension when seeing something now, but I try to put myself in I suspend reality to the point where I can be immersed in something and give it a chance to have that effect. But you're laying yourself open to a more pronounced jump scare or something like that. You're more vulnerable that way. And maybe that's the point. As we get older, we tend to put up our defenses more so we don't get jarred, or just like a protective mechanism of some kind. But I think Alien, where the first chest burster scene happened, in my mind, I don't know how I came up with this, but I thought it was supposed to be a comedy. And then my dad somehow informed me, no, this is not a comedy at all. And when that chest burster scene happened, it was just so terrifying. And I want to say that's my film that really is the most powerful, and it still holds up today, actually, effects-wise and story-wise, the grittiness of it all, and so forth, the realism of it for being a sci-fi horror. Kind of astonishing how effective it was and still is.
So, all right, that brings up another question, because to me, I would think of Alien as a sci-fi movie, not a horror movie. And then
I call it sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you consider to be a horror movie, period? I mean, is horror defined as something thematic, or is it something specific, like if there is gore, it is horror, or if there is a jump scare, then that counts as it being at least partially a horror movie? I mean, what would you consider a horror movie to be? What would be the factors that would make you think that, oh, this is at least partially a horror movie?
I would say it doesn't necessarily need gore or jump scares. I think really fear is the core of it. Fear and, I guess, the looming threat of death, whether that's, supernatural. It could also be like inner demons especially maybe more, for a long time, but definitely in a lot of recent horror, that's a like strong aspect where some of it could even be, metaphorical. To me, I guess I get it as like a crime thriller, but I would even consider Seven a horror movie.
Silence of the Lambs is similar too.
Yeah.
I've seen Silence of the Lambs. I like the movie very much. Mm-hmm. There was one shot, I think, about maybe 2/3, 3/4 of the way through, where the cannibal character, Hannibal, escapes and he has to do something, or feels he has to do something kind of gruesome with, I guess, the police officer, something like that I didn't care for. But other than that, I felt like I was in good hands. I didn't feel like I was going to, jump out of my skin at any moment. I felt it was more like a crime procedural, and that it wasn't too bad. But you would both consider that at least partially to be a horror movie.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's some debate about that one being just more of a thriller, leaning more towards thriller and technically not being horror. But I think most people, when you ask them, they will categorize it as a horror film. The body horror in it, the cannibalism, the themes are definitely there.
Most of the time with serial killers, I would usually place it in horror. I guess there's some that are maybe more dramas if they're more just focusing on maybe their early life or how they got to that point or whatever. But I think anything with like killer or, constant threat of, survivalism, I would usually consider horror.
Agreed.
What movie would you guys consider to be a horror that would surprise most people who would think of it as not a horror at all?
Well, there's certainly scenes in films that have been very scary. Even Willy Wonka with Gene Wilder.
God.
People were very terrified of certain scenes in that, but the whole movie...
What the fuck was up with that? That really, that pissed me off more than just scaring me. What are you doing? Like, what is going on there? You guys saw it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, first time you guys saw it, were you scared by it, or were you like too old for it? Or
I don't remember, but I can see it just coming out of nowhere and just being. We're talking about the same scene, I would think, where they're going through the tunnel in the boat, and there's a beheading of a chicken in there, like a real one, and other just shocking things. It's actually quite a famous scene for that reason. And Chitty Chitty Bang Bang had a scene with, I think it's the kid catcher or child catcher or something, but he would go around with a big net, and he had this weird pointy prosthetic nose. And that guy just scared the living hell out of me when I was a kid. And I don't think I've ever heard anybody mention him. I can only really think of little snippets of films, and that again is probably just because I was a kid, like I was talking about earlier.
I was 19 years old before I could even watch a commercial for a horror movie.
I thought you were going to say because your parents wouldn't let you, but it's because you're actually that much of a chicken shit.
Yes, correct. Yeah, no, I mean, growing up, in fact, I had a very weird period of time when I was a kid when I was hypersensitive. And I don't remember exactly why. It probably was some type of, very scary image that I happened to catch in a TV or movie that, really introverted me and triggered something within me. But from about, I would say, the age of 9 to 11, or 12 even, I was hypersensitive to the possibility that there could be something scary, to the point where my dad would take me to PG movies or, whatever, and I would still be looking down for most of it, thinking that something surely must be coming around the corner. But that was like my mindset for years. I was like that.
It's almost like the fear of fear. It's interesting.
I mean, it writes itself, people. I mean, you can just, but that's, so I've been like that for a long time now. I got out of that, phase. I got out of that phase actually right around the time the movie Ghost came out. Remember that with Patrick Swayze?
This is a nice movie about a ghost.
I never saw that one either.
Well, that one actually had a different aspect to it. So this is a movie about Patrick Swayze married to Demi Moore, and Patrick Swayze is killed, I guess. And he comes back through a medium played by Whoopi Goldberg. And so the movie is about how Patrick Swayze's character, through the medium, tries to direct Demi Moore's character to avenge his death or finger the guy that did it or whatever.
That's a common theme for ghost-based stories, is somebody who dies and is trying to reach out to the living to, bring justice to the killer. And I find that a very tired theme, but it can be done well.
I thought Ghost was fantastic. I don't know what you thought.
Yeah, no, it was a very good movie. It's definitely a romance at its core.
And that was really the problem. I'd gotten out of my horror ultra sensitivity phase by then, but I was still very shy when my dad would take me to see movies that had romantic themes in them, to the point where my dad noticed that every time there was any type of partial nudity or anything like that, a love scene in a movie that he took me to, my head would go down automatic, drop like an anchor. And he noticed. And so he even brought it up to me at one point. We were driving in his car. He's like, how are you with sex in movies now? Can you watch it? And I'm like, oh, no, are you kidding? I opened my eyes even wider when I saw it.
Look how far you've come.
And he's like, my boy. No, but he's like, okay, cool. And so I think either that weekend or maybe the next, he took me to see Ghost. Packed house, packed. I'm saying every single seat taken. And sitting next to my dad. And then the famous scene comes up. In fact, you, Stevie, might even remember seeing this scene.
The clay.
The clay,
yeah.
Right. And Patrick Swayze's hands go over Demi Moore and they make love. And, true to form, my head drops down. And my dad, gives me, an elbow to the ribs and is like, hey, watch, learn. In a fucking packed house, and he's like, he does not lower his voice, and he doesn't do the movie whisper thing. He hasn't gotten that down yet, and I was just like so mortified. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll be watching Demi Moore fuck Patrick Swayze now. Anyways, so that was nothing to do with horror at all. That story is not connected at all to what we're talking about, but. So, I mean, your definition is pretty expansive. So you're saying
there's
like
so many subgenres. Yeah, I would say pretty expansive. It has to be pretty outside of horror to not be horror. I think a lot of psychological stuff. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's actually, has character development, or they're exploring things about the character. That's not horror. Where if it's related, a serial killer or someone's killing, or there's, fear or a monster or something, and it has those elements, usually my instinct would be like, yeah, I would consider that horror. And if someone's like, oh, this is a thriller, I can give them that. Okay. But overall, yeah, I would view it more as just another subgenre of horror. Even, I guess you could argue either point for this one, but like Shutter Island, even, for example, I find that one horrifying for sure. It was.
Did you like Shutter Island?
Oh, I loved it.
And that's a twisty one. I didn't see it, but
yeah. Okay, we'll avoid details because that's one where the ending makes a lot of difference too, and things aren't what they seem to be, and all that stuff. But yeah, I think also a lot of something about asylums in particular is like so entrapping. And if someone decides you're crazy, that's it, and I think that's like one of the most like kind of hellish scenarios, because nothing you do or say, and especially, if you look into like the past where there's been some more like violent, experimental approaches, and it can get into some pretty fucked up material. Not that it always goes that direction, but I think even just the psychological element, it's just like being trapped in a different way, So yeah, I could see like how you could say that's horror, but then if you're like, oh no, it's a dramatic thriller, it has those elements too. So I would give someone that. But yeah, even for something like that, I would probably argue it.
And there was a time, Stevie, you and we saw The Sixth Sense together, and in theaters, and we sat right next to each other. And I remember like jumping out of my chair like maybe 3 or 4 times in the movie. That was probably the scariest movie that I really enjoyed. That's about as much as I can take, I think. In fact, maybe a little bit more than I can take. But I really liked it. But what I remember the most is sitting there and like jumping, and you had zero movement, like whatsoever, like no change in disposition for any jump scare at all.
That's usually me too.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'll be with like someone, they'll be like jumping, freaking out. I'm like, oh, that's nice. That's a nice moment.
I mean, some people love horror because they love the scary stuff. Like they love to be jumping or whatever. That's that friend that I was telling you about earlier that brought me to the ring. She loves horror, but she loves it because she likes the adrenaline. She likes getting jumpy, scared and all that. Plus,
if you're with a crowd, that energy can be very intoxicating as well. But there are so many different subgenres of horror that don't appeal to me at all. I tend to be kind of specific. I like more atmospheric type stuff like haunted houses and the graveyards, but I don't necessarily want to see anyone really upset. If that's,
so nice.
When people, like in the movie Triangle that we just saw, where somebody's just hysterically screaming all the time, it gets very screechy to me, and I don't really admire cowardice, even though it's something understandable. But I don't relate to somebody because they're hysterical. And sometimes I feel like filmmakers show someone particularly terrified, not because what they've written is actually that scary, but as a method of convincing the audience that this is a scary movie. I would rather be in a film or watching a film that puts me in an environment that makes me feel threatened and creeped out, but doesn't necessarily have anybody there having a panic attack. I really just want to slap the shit out of anybody who's doing that, whether they're male or female, but the female voice is particularly pitched in a way that just, it's like nails on chalkboard, and I really don't care for that. It doesn't entertain me, and I don't see how it would entertain anyone, frankly, but beyond that, it is a far back-reaching cliche of just having a screechy woman, and I think more credit should be given to women than just having them just screaming whenever the slightest thump happens. I'd rather just see more depth to a character, something less cliche happen. So that's perhaps more of a quibble. Is that a word? Can I say that?
Yeah.
Quibble? Okay.
According to Scrabble.
Well, let me comment on that real quick. Yeah, I think that was maybe kind of how maybe the roots of horror started out with, I guess the Scream Queen then was just someone screaming in terror who needed to be rescued. And we've definitely moved away from that as a genre a lot. But there can still be some of it. But yeah, I definitely, whether, female or male, you don't want someone who's just a total victim the whole time. Like it's not really, if horror films are a metaphor for, this hunger and fight in life, it's that's just giving up, so yeah, I definitely, you can have that moment of fear and vulnerability and not knowing how to fight, because that's real, but then get into gear, start fighting for your life at some point.
Yeah, there's a futility to it. I can see how somebody who is being attacked might have as a knee-jerk reaction, like a yelp or something, or a gasp. But there are much more productive things you can do to promote your survival than to just scream at whatever's staring at you. It just seems kind of like a stupid thing to do at the time when you're being threatened.
So I kind of wanted to end this segment by asking each of you, do you have recommendations for horror films that somebody like me could appreciate without getting nightmares? Are there really quality horror films that are not that scary, not super gory, and don't involve unhappy torturings?
Well, you're a comedy guy, right? That's your thing.
Yeah, but I can appreciate, a humorless movie that's done well.
Okay, well, I was going to say...
The Godfather is not a barrel of laughs.
Right. Ghostbusters has both comedy and scares.
Okay. Ghostbusters is pretty mild. I can take it up one more notch from Ghostbusters.
1984?
Yeah, I think so.
A lot of horror comedies are really bloody.
I've noticed that too. Like not watching them, obviously, but in their description. And I was telling Stevie earlier that I'm the type of guy that would actually read and have read plot summaries on Wikipedia for movies like Saw, for example, that I'm really interested in, but would never, ever watch them. To your point, I agree. I've read so many summaries of movies that are quote unquote comedies, but yeah, they're really like gory.
Yeah, they make it gory over the top and it's like fun and the tone, or there'll be like a lot of like kind of snarky, fun, witty banter, but they are really bloody and almost made for people who love the genre, and like a lot of them, like a lot of 80s throwback sort of a stuff. So it kind of helps if you already love some of those films in the first place.
I would also put in Interview with a Vampire. There's some just lovely scenery and actors, and it's just kind of funny, but also it just has like a dark humor to it, and also that atmospheric element that I was going on about. I just like being in that setting. It does have some moments. It's obviously vampire-based, so you're going to see blood there too, but I just like the social commentary that it has, and I just like the feel of it. And I think it's tame enough that you could probably deal with it.
Cool. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I dealt with Triangle. Triangle had a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
And I wasn't repulsed by Triangle. shooty stabby stuff is,
So blood is something you're actually okay with, or is it just the means by which blood
is extracted?
Spilled? Yeah.
Like if it's like more over the top, that's where it's too much. Or maybe that makes it more comedic where it doesn't seem real.
Right. Yeah. More cartoonish.
Yeah.
I feel that when I saw Triangle, the parts where I felt the most uncomfortable watching it, and not in a good way. I don't, if I don't feel comfortable watching a movie, then I'm not enjoying it. But the parts that I felt the most uncomfortable were the scenes in the hallway where I could picture a character maybe coming right in front of the camera. And I felt that was kind of actually, if I was into horror, like a missed opportunity, like for a jump scare there. I don't feel like movies really take advantage of the opportunity for characters to come right in front of the camera, in front of your face. I mean, am I wrong? I mean, is that a trope that is used very often? Is it already like passé, cliche, like nobody does it anymore? Because it's...
Well, they usually come from behind more than anything. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that it's so overused, jump scares, nowadays they probably expect it to be more earned than just a movie filled with jump scares, people jumping in front of the camera. But it still is very prevalent, I'm sure.
It's funny that we're talking, because I feel like since I haven't seen almost any horror movies at all, only the very, very gentle ones, that my sense of what would be a good horror movie is very like 50 years ago. Like, hey guys, wouldn't it be cool if there was a guy that like totally came in front of the camera and went, okay, good. So this is a good start. So thank you guys. And I think we'll end our TK Hates Horror Movies segment there, and that brings our podcast to a close as well. Stevie Ray, as always, from the moment I first met you, you've been my guiding star. Kelsey, thank you so much for doing this with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a great time.
Really, really appreciate it. Fantastic stuff. And from both of you, and especially me, if I don't mind me saying so. Thank you all for listening, for watching, for feeling us.
If you would like to join our Society of Grotesquerie and Loathing, subscribe now and give this podcast a like.
And be sure to comment your wretched thoughts below.
Keep our podcast suffering on by finding it in your cold, black, withered hearts to support us on Patreon.
A link to our PayPal is also below for one-time donations of any amount. It was nice knowing you.